Hello, kia ora, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this bright and early Saturday morning. Woo! Yeah! Welcome to Leveling Up Together, How to Lead Where You Are in Video Game Operations. My name is Mia Ginaé Watkins, and I am a black magic practitioner. Yes, that's right. I'm a master of the dark arts, more specifically a master of transforming chaos into order, making something out of nothing, and inspiring magic into others. Or this is just my fancy way of saying I'm a program manager. So here's a little bit about me. I've been in the games industry for about 9 years, having spent 6 of those years at PlayStation and currently 3 at Riot Games. I started out as a video editor, actually, working on AAA titles such as Days Gone, Death Stranding, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, MLB The Show, and more. I was also a production assistant on some really dope mocap shoots, including a horse mocap shoot that we did for Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. I later transitioned into comms and operations for PlayStation Studios, engaging in community building, creating engaging events across internal teams and studios, and utilizing my film background to highlight our devs with behind-the-scenes videos that I directed, produced, and edited. While most of that work was internal, 2 of those projects can be currently found on YouTube, and those are The Sound of God of War and the behind-the-scenes docuseries on Days Gone. Throughout these 9 years, I've worn many hats under the umbrella of operations. Content creator, event producer, communications lead, program manager, and more. And this, my friends, led me to a discovery. Although I don't have an official leadership title, I believe there is power in leading from where you are. This kind of power is not something that is given or bestowed, but it's made. It's made by your efforts, by your wins and your losses, your mistakes, and most importantly, how you treat others. So let's see a show of hands. How many of you work in operations, project or program management, or adjacent roles? Okay, sweet, nice, all right. Now, how many of you wear different hats in your role? It can be any role. Okay, well, that's a lot of hat wearers, so we're all in accordance here. Now, who's heading to Hobbiton right after this conference? Or maybe you've already been to Hobbiton. Who's already been to Hobbiton? Because I have not. So if you're going again, please let me know. I'd love to go with you. So if you're hearing my talk, that must mean that you're ready for a different kind of adventure. One just as perilous, but maybe not as dangerous. At some point in your career, you've probably been in the middle. You found yourself in a position where you're expected to stretch in all directions, oftentimes without any direction, and also without holding any official organizational authority. You might think you don't have any power. You might think there is nowhere to grow. You might even think you're alone. But with the show of hands, it looks like that we're not, so that's good. It's a perilous journey indeed. But never fear, because I'm here to equip you with 3 steps, there's probably more, but 3 steps for today that will hopefully solve all of your problems. 3 steps to guide you in leveling up the way you utilize your position in the middle. Because when we level up ourselves and the environments around us, we level up together. And perhaps create a little bit of black magic on our own. So let's get started with our first step, identifying your power. Now, for this to work, we're going to have to be a little bit vulnerable, to open up a little bit, because the step involves a lot of reflection. So I'll go first. This is me back at university. University Mia. Wow, what a big ball of energy. In her first year, University Mia made a vow to no one but herself. No one asked her to do this. She just decided to do this on her own, to meet someone new every day. I run across campus and push myself to connect with people, no matter how scared I was. Someone from class? Let's go grab lunch. The cleaning staff in the hallways? Let's strike up a conversation. Tell me what you're up to. Professors I never had a class with? A+ in socialization. It got to the point where my friends were with me. We would go and hang out, and I say hello to everyone that we walked past, and they were like, "Who are you? How do you know so many people?" I just wanted to talk to them, I said. I just cared about connecting with people. Fast forward to when I entered into the workforce. Now, I wasn't quite running around PlayStation's campus a whole lot. Maybe I was, I don't know. People have to remind me. But I made time to stop by people's desks. And when lockdown happened, I made time to set up virtual one-on-ones to get to know people better. And again, people asked, how do you know so many people? I just wanted to talk to them, I would say. And then a new question followed. Okay, well, since you know so many people, do you know someone who can help me in this department then? I need their help with the project. Can you connect me? And suddenly that question that was kind of fun at first evolved into a sort of action. Connect me with this person. I need help with this person. Do you know how to get into this department? And the bridges I had built for fun had kind of branched out into this community of its own. It was then that I realized that that was my power. It was connecting people. More connections there. But it took me a minute to realize it, to digest what people were saying and really reflect on my past experiences. So when it comes to identifying your power, I want you to take a moment to reflect on the things that you're skilled at and ask yourself these 3 questions or more. What am I passionate about? What's something I do really well? And what skills do I use often? Also, listen to other people's feedback. This can be praise, suggestions, anything that brightens the unknown powers hidden in your blind spots, because it might be the nudge you need to lean into that. And speaking of leaning into your power, might I recommend the Strengths Finder exercise. This is another way to identify your strengths and learn how to lean into them. So if you grab this book, and make sure you grab the book with the assessment on the back, it has a code, you can take an assessment online that will list your 34 strengths. The main takeaway is analyzing your top 5, which Strengths Finders will give you a breakdown of. So I did this in university, and I did this again in my career. So based on your results, the assessment will identify those top 5 traits and how you can best lean into them. But here's what I really love about Strengths Finder. They have this concept called balconies and basements. Balconies are positive characteristics of your strengths, while basements are vulnerabilities of a strength if misaligned. They'll give you a deeper look at how and where to align your strengths. Again, here am I being more vulnerable. Here are my top 5 strengths that we have here. I have developer. I'm futuristic, which is one of my favorites. You got empathy, relator. I almost said realtor. I cannot sell you a house. I'm so sorry about that. And positivity. These are the strengths that I believe help me be a better connector. Now let's look at your possible 5 strengths. We got achievers in the room. We have commands in the room. Maximizers. Strategic. Woo. That's actually a real strength. I'm not just cheering just for the fun of it. Woo actually stands for winning over others, which is, I think, is really cool. So if anyone has that strength in the room, let's please connect. I need your help. So yeah, check out Strengths Finder when you can. You'll be surprised what you'll learn about yourself. And there's a couple more assessments I recommend to identify your power. I have a resource list. It's a QR code at the end of this talk, which you can scan, so that will have all the resources I'll have for the whole talk. So all that fun jazz. And once you've completed that step, yay, we did it. That's it, right? We found our power. We're ready to level up together, yeah? Nope. This was just a tutorial. You still have a lot more work to do, because now that you have your power, it's time for step 2, stepping out of your comfort zone and taking charge, right? It's easy, putting the power to action. No anxiety at all. Now I throw you to the lions, tigers, and bears, and you'll have to figure out how to make friends with all of them. With this newfound power, you have to figure out how to balance teammates, relationships, stakeholder expectations, job responsibilities, again, all without having official organizational authority. Perhaps you're encouraged to do this and you have support, you have help. Perhaps it's the total opposite and you're in an environment where you're discouraged to do this and maybe you are faced with incredible risk. It's a real pressure, it's a real fear, and I want to acknowledge that that pressure is real. And at the moment, it feels insurmountable, but it is not impossible. So for this part of the talk, I'm going to use 3 hypothetical scenarios to illustrate how to accomplish this step. And these scenarios are going to live within a person I like to call Jordan. Let's meet Jordan, everybody. We love Jordan. Yep. Thank you. Hello. Jordan is a mid-level individual contributor who's been at the company for 3 to 5 years. Jordan works on a small operations team and has taken on roles such as coordinator, project manager, project lead, and more. Jordan is tasked with short-term and long-term projects bestowed by senior leadership. Jordan is also tasked with work on initiatives from other centralized teams who could really use Jordan's help. Jordan often wears more than one hat and is told to do more with less. Who's heard that one before? Yes? Yeah, we got a couple of hands in the room there. I saw you there. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of what Jordan is asked to do is beyond the original job description. So Jordan has a lot on their hands, and Jordan could choose to let projects fail, even the ones that aren't assigned to her, even the ones that people go to them for help. But Jordan succeeds and takes control of what power they have. Jordan in these hypothetical scenarios are an amalgamation of my past experiences and those of my colleagues. And to make matters a little bit more fun, we're gonna follow Jordan's journey with Sir Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion. You're probably thinking, what does Sir Isaac Newton have to do with any of this? I'm not a mathematician, I'm not really good with science, as you can tell. I'm in the program management side of video games, I work with creatives. But you know, I feel like Newton, his laws are all about, there you go. Newton, his laws are all about force and movements, which metaphorically speaking, is what Jordan will need to step out of their comfort zone and take charge. So we thank you, Sir Isaac Newton, for being our metaphor for this part of the step. Let's get started. Scenario number 1. Jordan has a team project that they're really proud of. The team is really stoked about it, and their manager is pretty hands-off with it. Suddenly, Jordan learns that their team is merging with another team with a project that's similar to theirs. So not only do they have to merge team dynamics, but they also have to rework their project from the ground up. We got to start all over. Jordan goes to their manager and senior leadership for guidance, but both parties lack clarity on how to move forward. The team is thrown in disarray, and no one knows what to do. Chaos ensues. Newton's first law of motion is, objects at rest stay at rest. Objects in motion stay in motion. So how does this apply to Jordan? Well, Jordan could sit down and throw their hands up as if there's nothing to be done. Or they can demonstrate initiative where there is none, taking control of the situation as much as they can. And in Jordan's case, they're going to have to figure out things with senior leadership if the project can move forward. For most folks in an IC or middle position, getting clarity or asking senior leadership for anything is probably a huge step out of your comfort zone. It's probably gargantuan even. But if you are in Jordan's shoes, you most likely will have to do it. You will have to advocate for yourself and your team in ways that will probably feel uncomfortable, but those actions are going to keep you in motion. In Davika Bridges' book, Thrive in Color, How to Master Self-Advocacy and Command Your Career as an Underrepresented Professional, she says that self-advocacy is the ability to speak up for yourself, communicate your needs, and express your feedback. A consistent mindset and belief that your needs and ideas are important, and that you will give yourself permission to pursue them. So what does Jordan do? Jordan takes action. They gather the new team together, clarify roles and responsibilities, and brainstorm a new vision for their project. Jordan takes his vision and pitches it to senior leadership to see if it aligns with their goals. Now, leadership gives it a few tweaks, but because they have something to work with, Jordan and the team can keep reiterating it and move forward. They can get that clarity and direction, and they get an alignment to push the project forward. Everything stays in motion. So the takeaway here is that if there is no catalyst, then become one. Gather your teammates and your collaborators to figure out what you need and then take it to leadership. Get really good at getting your senior leaders to articulate what their vision is. Ask them, what are the rules? What's the roadmap? What's the project's North Star? And once you have that information, then it's your job to figure out how you're going to do all of that. Get that alignment in order so that you can get that project going. Scenario number 2. Jordan is assigned to support Team A on an annual event program. Jordan learns that Team A has to get approval from Team B to get the program going. Unfortunately, there's friction between the teams. Team A doesn't like how Team B lacks transparency on what they can and can't do. Team B was frustrated that Team A submitted their budgets late and didn't fill out the necessary forms to process everything. The program is blocked, the clock is ticking, as you can see. Jordan is in the middle. Chaos ensues. Newton's second law is the more massive an object, the more force is needed to change its motion. How does that apply to Jordan in this case? In these situations, you may need to utilize your power that you identified in step 1 to move in a variety of directions to motivate your partners to create that force needed to push things forward. Jordan will have to tap into what is called an others-oriented leadership mindset. Because Jordan can't force these two teams to work together, and Jordan can't move this obstacle on their own. Jordan's going to have to rally everyone together to be on the same page if they're going to get that force to push that obstacle out the way, and repair relations so the two teams can prevent this obstacle from returning in the future. The others-oriented leadership mindset comes from Scott Moss's book, Leading from the Middle. He says, others-oriented leadership mindset takes the focus off of the self and places it on understanding and acting on the multitude of perspectives you must consider when interacting up, down, and across your organization. Because it's all about the ecosystem, not the ego system. I was like, Scott, that's a bar. That's actually very awesome. So what does Jordan do? Jordan asked Team B to list all the forms needed to complete and the estimated time it takes to process them. Jordan takes this information to Team A and suggests that they plan their event program way in advance, giving them time to fill out all those forms and get all those approvals they need from Team B. In the background, though, Jordan is taking all this information and creating a guide. So they're getting that historical knowledge together. Moving this obstacle takes some time, and the current event program launches with what they already have planned and have approved. However, the next year, the event program is bigger and better than ever. Because Team A submitted their plan, budgets, and all the forms ahead of time, and Team B had that time to process and approve everything, their bridges between those teams slowly bend, because now everyone is on the same page. And because Jordan has that guide of historical knowledge in the back, they have a plan in place to prevent this from happening again and to execute the same program the next year, and the next. Obstacle is removed. So the takeaway here is to utilize the power you identify from step 1 to gather the force to push. Lead where you can to get everyone together to remove those obstacles, because remember, you're stronger together. And make sure that as you're pushing these obstacles, you're removing others that might reappear later. Be proactive in maintaining the ecosystem, not the ego system. Love that line, it's great. Scenario 3. I see the nods back, yes, that's really great. Jordan's manager assigns him as a project lead on a rather nebulous and unclear project. Their job? Lead the team, manage all the processes, and launch the program on time. Easy. Jordan steps in and proposes how the team can tackle the initiative. However, Jordan's manager and the team tend to disagree with the approach. That's okay. Jordan goes back to the drawing board, proposes another solution. The team disagrees again. And this back and forth goes on for months, to the point where the team becomes hesitant to make a decision. And despite Jordan's efforts to move things along, they continue to lose time So now Jordan has to account for crunch leading to the launch of the project. Analysis paralysis is real and it's rampant. And Jordan can't figure out what went wrong. Chaos ensues. Newton's third law of motion is, there we go, Newton, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So how does this apply to Jordan? Well, stepping out of your comfort zone and taking charge is not without pushback. It's not without its challenges, so you have to be prepared to deal with what comes with you stepping out of your comfort zone. And in Jordan's case, they had to peel back several layers of pushback and surgically resolve them by facing them head on. In 2006, an American commercial for the migraine relief product Head On went viral for its very direct slogan, "Head on, apply directly to the forehead." While this product is now defunct, and I don't think it ever worked, it was a very catchy slogan, I'm prescribing you this medication to figure out how to remedy this dilemma. Thank you all for indulging my love of commercials. This is probably a different way to exploit this point, but I just love how head-on this is. There you go. Chances are, in situations such as these, there are unaddressed problems around processes such as, but not limited to, resource management, role clarity, or how you want your team to work. So how do you resolve a hesitant team without adding more to the problem? Be brave enough to call out the problems and have empathy to talk about them. Work together as a team to get that clarity, set expectations, and lock them in so that everyone knows how to work. Because when you start seeing the signs, and you will, someone needs to say something. Jordan can't get back the time they lost. However, Jordan boldly takes the lead with their manager and team to clarify those responsibilities, resource management, and other processes before moving forward. And a few meetings later, the team is finally aligned. The team gets to work on their task, and even though they have to crunch, the project sees a significant jump in movement. There are moments on the project where those old hesitant habits creep up on the team, and those cycles almost return. But again, Jordan steps in and boldly faces on the problems that pop up, and the team modifies their responsibilities and resources. The project is miraculously launched on time. Takeaway here. I wish I could say there was one way to do this, but there's not. There's no silver bullet or secret formula that serves as a catch-all for solving every problem your team has. Because at the end of the day, it depends on the makeup of your team. And the key is knowing what those problems would be ahead of time. You might have different ones based on your leadership, based on how you all like to work together, based on different working styles. And you can find these questions to figure out how to address these problems in the resource list, which I'll have later, because there are a lot of questions. And you'll probably have more that comes up based on the makeup of your team. Let's give a round of applause for Jordan. Thank you, Jordan. And let's hear for Sir Isaac Newton. Thank you, Gravity. There are three common themes in those scenarios: miscommunication, misalignment, and oftentimes muddled vision. The root of those issues lay in how we work together. Leading from the middle means you're exerting influence in all directions. And as important as it is to work with senior leaders, you don't want to disregard your peers as well, which is why it's important to tap into your squad, our final step for this talk. We all have our own version of the squad. There's the brunch squad, right here in the front row. There is the Hobbiton squad we talked about earlier, or let's just call it the travel squad, which I see over there. And then, of course, there's your work squad. And they can be your direct team, or maybe folks you work with in different departments. And in my experience, and perhaps yours as well, there's more benefit and more fun in growing together, because you can't do it all, and you can't do it alone. Believe me, I've tried, and I'm telling you here, please get your squad together. You're not going to know everything, and that's okay. That is what your squad is for. You have your strengths, and then they have theirs. With your forces combined, like the Power Rangers here, you're probably unstoppable. But we have to be open and vulnerable to make that magic happen. We see this in the games that we play. So let's look at League, for example. Your goal is to take down and destroy the other team's base before they destroy yours. You play in teams of 5, and you play out of 5 roles. To secure your best chance at victory, you'll need to balance out how much of each role that you need with your team and select champions whose abilities might amplify that role and also other teammates. The more games you win, the more experience points you earn, you level up together. Let's look at Marvel Rivals. You play in teams of 6, but for Marvel Rivals, there's only 3 main roles. Again, your best chance to secure victory is that you'll have to balance out how much of each role you need on your team. Marvel Rivals has a variety of objectives that you complete and compete with as a team. Your performance and overall victory or loss determines on how much experience points you earn. Either way, you level up together. Now let's boil down that concept into a real-life example. About a year ago, I did a stint with the Black and Gaming Foundation as one of their directors, managing our events and operations. I noticed that while our branding is pretty cool, the logo has often changed every now and then. So my objective, take inspiration from our already existing and really cool logos and create a new one that had a strong brand identity across all of our marketing materials. Pitched this idea to our executive director, and she was like, sounds good, go for it, it's all yours. I rounded up volunteers to create the foundation's first ever creative team. So let's take inspiration from League of Legends and Marvel Rivals and come up with a few roles of our own. I had a lot of fun doing this, you can probably tell, hopefully. We have the architect, or creative leads, experts in their craft who actively work towards creating the brand vision. We got our magicians, or our artist supports, skilled artists who supported the architects with their share of the work. And of course, we have the operative, or the project managers. The operative was responsible for managing the team, keeping stakeholders up to date, collecting stakeholder feedback, and protecting the work dedicated to the team. You can probably guess which one I was. Very quickly, assembling my squad became a balancing act. Because if there weren't any operatives, the project wouldn't get pushed through. If there weren't enough magicians, the architects couldn't get their work done. And too many architects equated to too many cooks in the kitchen. So how do we stay on top without falling over? As the operative, I first helped everyone identify their power, or in this case, their creative skills, aspirations, and bandwidth. Next, I stepped out of my comfort zone and took charge, creating about 4 to 5 strike teams based on the craft areas we wanted to focus on, such as graphic design, motion graphics, and creative direction. I assigned roles based on everyone's power, starting with the architects. Each one led one of those strike teams, limiting the architect number of roles and cooks in the kitchen to about 4 to 5. Since we had more magicians than architects, or operatives, I let the magicians choose which strike teams they wanted to support, but limited their selection to 2 teams so they wouldn't be burned out. And it would be up to the architects to lead their strike teams how they wanted. Given the uncharted nature of this project, and again, the bandwidth that we had as a volunteer organization, I had to leave room for flexibility. So I tapped into my squad to make sure they knew enough to switch roles in case things change. So for example, an architect would be an operative, a magician an architect, and an operative a magician. Or without the metaphor, the creative leads would step up to manage the team, the support roles would step up to be the strike team leads, and the project manager might have to step back and be more of a support role. The team worked tirelessly for months until, voila, the objective was complete. Thank you, yeah. Special thanks to all of the magicians, architects, and operatives part of this project. It was created by a small band of volunteers dedicated to a single goal. The game was won, experience points were earned, and we leveled up together. let's recap, folks. We know there is power in leading from where you are. There is power even if you don't have a leadership title or if you are in a middle position. You now know the 3 steps to level up yourself, your work, and your team. Identify your power, step out of your comfort zone and take charge, and tap into your squad. With this knowledge, you're hopefully equipped to handle situations that come from all directions and empowered to make change where there is chaos. I have now passed on the magic of the dark arts to you. I am personally convinced that just one person can be a change catalyst, a transformer in any situation. So go out there and make it happen. Thank you. All right, any questions? Yes.
Thank you. Here you are.
Thank you. That was amazing and really inspirational to now gamify making teams. I was curious, how long did that project take?
Oh, the last one?
Yeah, what was the timeline?
That was from, I want to say, April of last year and then to October, almost December of last year as well. So that was a couple of months. And then I actually I was the operative, and then I actually had to step back and switch roles with someone and say, hey, I got a lot on my plate, I have to tap out of here. So someone stepped up and took on that role, and they really took it home and took it out of the park. But it really took a lot of making sure that team knew that they could do that at the beginning. I literally said at the beginning of the project, hey folks, I don't want to lead this team. I want us all to be in a position where we feel empowered enough to share responsibility, and that's exactly what they did. But yeah, that took a couple of months, pretty much Q2 of last year up until Q4, yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
Hello, thank you for your talk, that's really cool. A common trait of being in the middle is that you don't really get to make a lot of the calls, but you have to support the people who are unhappy with the calls that are being made. And those things kind of keep changing. So how do you manage that space you are between a rock and a hard place?
Oof, that's a good question. A lot of trial and error. I think also when you're in that middle position, especially if those calls are coming from the top, and then you have to almost be the messenger to relay those calls. I think it's also for both parties, for senior leadership, say, hey, okay, so we're making this call. This is what folks in this position who will receive this call have said what they wanted or have expressed what they need help with, and then doing the same to the folks receiving that call, say, hey, this is what senior leadership is doing, this is what they would like to see and request. So almost feeding to both sides information what they both want, in hopes that they're both empathetic to what they're coming from, because I don't want to say that both parties are in different worlds, but they are in different mindsets. They have different responsibilities, right? And so it's almost you have to bring everyone up to the same level and almost do a bit of hey, I'm trying to compromise here. We're trying to give this or that and relaying back and forth. It's almost not giving feedback per se, but almost say, okay, they want to do this, and then telling to that, and then but also opening the door to both parties. Say, hey, do you mind if I take this to the team, see what they have to say? Then come back and then we can work together. Or what I found most is that I just grab everyone in the room and just say, let's just talk it out if possible, and then try to facilitate that as much as possible, because you might have people that are just really direct and say, oh, we're not doing this and we have to do this, and you kind of have to be that person that is sort of feeding all the information in. That way you don't piss off both sides as well. So the goats up there, a lot of balancing for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we got one up here. Oh, we have one up here. Sorry. Yeah, there we
I didn't see you.
You talked about your connector superpower. The balcony's really clear there. What's the basement?
That's a really good question. I feel like if it's not the basements are the vulnerabilities of a strength is like misaligned. I think that could be more if you're connecting and you're not aligned with what the goal, like the vision or the guides are for the people you're connecting with. So I've often have times where I'm like, oh, hey, there's this person, and people are like, well, okay, what am I supposed to do with this person, or what are we supposed to talk about? And so I think that's sort of like the downfall. So like before you go out and make those connections or bring people together, it's like I have to figure out what those priorities are. Is this even the right person to connect this with as well? I also feel like it might, in some situations, it might be too many cooks in the kitchen. If you're like, oh, let's get all these people together on this project, then you're actually half of these people didn't need to be on this project at all. Or maybe they just need to be more informed. There is a really cool matrix, I forgot what it's called, but it's a stakeholder matrix where you categorize people in 4 quadrants, where it's like, okay, this person absolutely needs to be part of this project, or this person can be informed and we can just give them updates. So that sort of quadrant, I think it's called the stakeholder matrix or something like that. But that's a way to sort of clarify, do I need to connect this person with this team or this project, or can we just tell them, hey, we're doing this, and they're like, cool, awesome. But yeah, I think it's more over-connecting and also bringing in people when they either probably shouldn't, maybe it's too early to bring them on the project, or they have no idea like what we're doing, and they're like, I don't know why you invited me, guys, but it's cool, thank you for that. So I think it's more of like not being aligned with why you're doing that as well. Yeah. That was a really good question. What question? All right, cool. Well, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming.